Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Square Off. What a week this has been. Let's meet this week's panelists.
I am Billy Murphy.
Hey, everybody, I'm Andrew Langer.
Tonya Bana.
And Hassan, Giordano.
And I'm Richard Sher. Welcome to Square Off. This has been a week of White House buck passing. As to who really gave the order to kill two survivors of a U.S. strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat that was in the Caribbean. Secretary Pete Hegseth says he watched the first strike but did not order to kill them all. The buck stopped with top Navy Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley, who was the killing of the two survivors a war crime. Was it a war crime? Andrew, kick it off.
No, I don't think it was a war crime. I think at the end of the day, there are rules of engagement that are out there, and we're out there fighting a drug war. It's been a drug war that's been going on for, I would say, far too long. But nevertheless, this issue of dealing with Venezuela is one that the administration has decided to kick things up a notch in this. So no, I don't think it was a war crime at all.
Who does?
I do.
Go.
It is a war crime to kill or injure someone who is helpless in war. And there are reasons for that. It would be murder because there's no necessity to do it. And here. And the rules of engagement have nothing to do, although they overlap with whether or not something is a war crime. There's a lot written about it now. And there was an excellent column by a military veteran who had to make these decisions himself about why this is a war crime and what the definition of a war crime is in the Universal Military Code. So this is defined. It's not a matter of opinion, and it is a war crime. The second thing, however, is whether or not killing people in a boat without knowing who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, is also a war crime. And it is. So that's my view.
All right. Hassan.
So, I agree with Billy. Look, the end of the day is you can't justify killing people just because you're saying and you're wanting the American people to believe that they're bad guys with drugs, right? There's never been any evidence to the fact that all these ships do actually have drugs on them. That still does not give you the right to go start blowing them up. And in this particular case, you blew up a ship, the people survived, you knew that they survived, they had no way of coming back at you, and yet you still blow them up. That is murder, point blank, bottom line.
A war crime, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Tonya Bana.
Yeah, I think, Hassan, I think you buried the lead. Why isn't it not just a crime? Why isn't it not just murder? We're not at war with Venezuela. And last time I checked, drug dealing and narcotics trafficking was not a capital offense. We don't. It is un-American, and it's an offense to the concepts of due process and the presumption of innocence to just unilaterally decide and pronounce that someone should die. That's not the American way. We should call it what it's un-American, and it's murder.
So far, there have been 23 boats blown up, one late Thursday night, at least 80 killed. Admiral Bradley was very clear that he was never given an order to kill them all. And Andrew, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, please go ahead, Tonya.
I just say he's clearly being made the scapegoat or volunteering to be the scapegoat. He's taking the fall. We know who's directing this because they're not hiding it. They're saying it out. They're saying the quiet part out loud. We know that this has been a directive of the administration all the way up to the top. This man's clearly a scapegoat.
Well, I'm not entirely certain that he's a scapegoat. He is the commander on the ground doing these things, making these orders. I think at the end of the day, right, the U.S. military has a very complicated history in terms of these kinds of engagements. I think, during the Obama administration, when the president ordered without due process the killing of American citizens, there should have been, and there rightly was, an investigation into this and whether or not it was the right thing to do. At the end of the day, I'm not at all sympathetic for folks who are trying to flood the United States market with drugs. I think this is well within the purview of the executive branch for us to do.
Yeah, but here's what you're doing. You're swallowing whole an unsupported statement that, I'm sorry, who else is talking? I'll back away.
No, it's you, Billy. Go ahead.
You're swallowing an unsupported statement that these people were carrying drugs, that they were drug dealers, with no due process, no attempt to board the ship, which is the ordinary procedure. And if you boarded the ship, you could determine whether they were drug dealers, and instead of instantly imposing the death penalty, follow the law.
And
this is lawless
Billy,
behavior.
We are boarding ships and we are seizing drugs. The DEA has seized 25,000 kilos of cocaine under this administration, so we are doing that as well. This is not a situation where it's an either or issue. It's an issue where we have ramped up our measures in terms of interdicting drugs as they're on the open seas. And listen, I'm all in favor of having a full-on investigation of this. I have no problem with that. I think in the same way that Hegseth was exonerated in the so-called Signal Gate, that the DOD is going to be exonerated in this as well.
And look,
well, the problem is that there's nothing fair about what the DOD is doing. Go ahead.
All right, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth authorized the strikes, but did not give the order to kill everybody, adding Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority in ordering the additional strike. He attributed the deadly second attack on the survivors on the fog of war. Go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tonya.
There wasn't much fog there because there was an hour's difference between when the ship was blown up and these two men were brutally murdered. Fog where? Fog on somebody's glasses?
Well,
Can I just say that Andrew, by your logic, I should just put a bullet in your head right now because you're a white man and you fit the profile of someone who could be a serial killer. We don't just get to blow up boats because some boats have drug traffickers. We don't just get to assassinate drug traffickers either. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, we have due process. We're not allowed to go kill people. It's murder. It's un-American, and all the law and order people should be saying that.
Right. So when President Obama ordered a drone attack that killed American citizens, then Barack Obama should have been investigated for that as well. If X is a war crime, then Y is a war crime, and if X wasn't a war crime, then this is a war crime.
But here's
not partisan politics.
Hold on. Go ahead, Tonya, you respond.
Yeah. Like, this whataboutism is a distraction tactic, and I know you're well equipped and adept at doing that, but we're not going to let it happen. I don't care what President Obama did; he's not the president right now.
Got it.
And if he did commit war crimes, that doesn't mean we should continue to commit war crimes. This is what's happening right now, and It's not right.
All right, Hassan.
Well, the fact that when you bring up the former president, to me, that's a distraction. President Obama, the drones that you talk about, they were not directed specifically at. They were collateral damage, and it was investigated. There was a congressional hearings regarding this.
Right.
This particular situation is a direct attempt at murder. There is no, okay, that's collateral damage. They purposely are and then on top of that, you're saying, but don't worry about it because they're bad guys. They're selling drugs. Well, guess what? When I was young, I used to do dumb stuff like selling drugs. I'm glad somebody didn't just willingly kill me before I had an opportunity to change my life and be who I am today.
We are thankful to Hassan
Yes.
that you are who you are today.
But again,
let's be clear. Let's be clear, Hassan. It's because the people on those boats look like you or me and don't look like Pam Bondi, that people are so comfortable with this extrajudicial murder that's happening. If they look like Pam Bondi, there would be a much bigger public outcry from the law and order contingent.
No question about it. And we're dealing with the president who is an overt racist. If there was any doubt about it, look what he said about Somalians yesterday. So Come on, let's stop playing around here with the nuance and whatnot when the
Right.
picture is extraordinarily clear.
Billy, because people from Somalia happen to be from the continent of Africa, we're not supposed to investigate issues of millions of dollars in taxpayer funding going to fund terrorist organizations overseas.
I'm not talking about
And to
that.
say
You
that and
changed
to
the
talk about
subject.
that and to say that this is a problem that needs to be investigated, that's somehow racism? No. And to say,
I
by the way,
didn't say that at all.
Somalia
I
is a
said,
failed state.
Hold
Is
on, guys.
Somalia
Let
is a
Andrew
failed state.
finish.
Somalia is a failed
Andrew, you
state.
have
It absolutely is.
Andrew, I'm talking about the disparaging remark that the president made about all Somalians, which is obvious racism.
He didn't
Now,
make it about all Somalis.
Somalia can have problems, and they do. They have terrible problems. But don't categorize all of the people in the nation in a racist way. That is overt racism.
Tonya, you're nodding.
I just think it's hilarious that, on one hand, white folks want to say, don't judge me for what other white people did. I didn't know slaves. I'm poor. I'm Irish. My people were slaves. They were white slaves. But then all of a sudden, it's okay to categorically lump in all Somalians. It's the hypocrisy for me, and also the kind of course that's not what you said, Billy. We know what you said, but that was a distraction. It's a rhetorical tactic.
All
You're
right, give
really
me
good
just
at
a
it, Andrew,
minute.
and I love it. But we
Hold it.
see what you're doing.
Listen, let's finish with this part of this. A federal watchdog reports Secretary Hegseth put U.S. troops in military operations at risk by sharing sensitive information over the Messages app Signal, violation of a Pentagon policy. Hegseth denies any wrongdoing. What do you think about that? He did this once before. Tonya, go ahead.
Just again to point out the double standards and hypocrisy, the degree of incompetence that these white folks have is so. It's the only thing that's saving democracy is that they're incapable of implementing their dark agenda because they didn't fill it with all these DEI white hires. Pam Bondi, they can't get it. They can't get a ham. They literally can't get a ham sandwich indicted. And so I guess we should be grateful for that. But yeah, it's incompetence. He should be removed. But
Billy, let me
maybe we
ask
should be
you
glad
this.
that he's there.
Billy, were any of your clients, well, forget it. I was going to piggyback on something that Tonya said, but I'm not going to. Anybody have anything to add?
Well, this is a question of blind loyalty to an unhinged president who has no guardrails, no respect for democracy, wants to be a dictator, and is well on his way to become one. God hope that there is no declaration of war upon which he can say that now he has war power, now he can suspend the Constitution of the United States, and now he can call off the midterm election. That seems to be why he is messing with Venezuela. And he's down the road. He's got troops down there surrounding the country. He's got warships, he's got planes, he's ready to strike an unprovoked war against a sovereign nation. So he will go to any extent to stay in office. And this is a critical step because how is the Supreme Court going to say that wars that we start don't give him the war power, but wars that are started against us do? That's going to be the tough question, and you know how that's going to come down. So we'll have a dictatorship.
We have a dictatorship here. I have the gavel. Let's turn now to Howard Mallison, the voice of Square Off, for two of our sponsors who are fabulous. Howard.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your choice for a great meal starts at the Double T Diner. As a matter of fact, Richard and I had breakfast there this past week, and it was delicious.
Yes, it was.
All the menu choices are served the entire day because the Double T Diner has locations all over town: Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. You've never seen a menu with so many selections. It's why Double T Diner wins so many reader polls. Plus, Monday nights are lobster nights at By the Docks, part of the Double T family. Let them know you heard about them on Square Off. If you or a family member has experienced personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect, it's time to call the law firm of Barry Glazer. He has the legal team and resources to go after the big insurance companies to get you every penny he can. And with an in-house medical doctor and nurse, his attorneys work on the toughest and most complex medical malpractice cases. Barry Glazer is your best advocate for the injured, disabled, and medically abused. Give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568 and let him know you heard about him on Square Off. Back to you, Rich.
We're going to mention something about Barry Glazer a little bit later in the program, but this is something that we have to take care of because of this conflict in Baltimore between the mayor and the state's attorney. Ivan Bates sent a letter to Mayor Brandon Scott alleging that, quote, a veil of secrecy surrounds Scott's crime-fighting strategy. Bates says he will no longer coordinate with the mayor's Office of Safety and Neighborhood Engagement, which oversees Scott's group violence reduction strategy. And their feuding, which has been going on all the time, continues. What about this feud? Hassan, you're close to this.
So let's start where you started at. Number one, it's not a feud. It only became a feud because somebody decided to leak the letter that the state's attorney sent specifically to the mayor. 2 hours after that letter was sent, the Baltimore Banner was calling our office to try to find out if the state's attorney had more comments on it. So let's start there. This had nothing to do with these two gentlemen. It had nothing in the letter that says that he's not going to work with the mayor's office, that he's not going to work with BPD, and they're not going to continue the historic reductions in homicides and violent crime that we've seen over the past 3 years. What it did take into account is some of the information that was learned from the state's attorney's office in regards to Monty, the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, who is acting as if they're playing attorneys on TV, when in real life, attorneys have real life consequences by the actions that they do. And if you really look into it, I get it, the media wants to make it as a feud or a rift between these two gentlemen. This had nothing to do with a rift. It would have never gotten to the media or the public had somebody had not leaked it. But at the end of the day, these two gentlemen and their teams will work this out, and we'll continue to see historic reductions as we've seen in the past 3 years.
Well, they feuded about other things too, but we'll get to that maybe. Tonya, Billy, Andrew.
I respect both of these men. And I have been a mediator between them in the past, and they have conducted themselves extraordinarily well. Things happen, and there are serious disputes between warring politicians. I anticipate that you'll see some more of this. I hope these matters can be resolved. We've resolved them in the past amicably, and I'm looking forward, if called upon again, to resolve this dispute.
I have all respect for Ivan Bates and very little for Mayor Brandon Scott. Ivan Bates came into office having to take on a Herculean task of rebuilding a state's attorney's office that was, I won't say it was in shambles, but it certainly hadn't been up to the task of dealing with the complex issues facing Baltimore residents. Brandon Scott also came into office with a complex task of rebuilding the public trust in government. I don't think he has done so. I think that's a stark difference between the two. Ivan Bates is achieving what he's supposed to be achieving. Brandon Scott, it seems to me, is more interested in flash over substance.
Billy?
Yeah, I'll just say I have zero respect for Brandon Scott. Respect is assumed, it's automatic, but it can be lost, and he lost it, and it's because he shows no respect for us, his constituents. He routinely disregards the will of the people. He came into office, thumbing his nose at us, saying, "I don't care how you feel about the conduit. I'm going to do a workaround since you wouldn't let me sell it, and I'm going to lease it." He shows disdain for the communities that he claims to prioritize when he tries to ram through this zoning bill that would destroy historic Black communities, and then he tries to say it's equity. I mean, he has not only does he not deserve respect, he's dishonest. He does not deserve a presumption of credibility. and often is, in fact, straight up lying to our faces. So in this conflict, I'm going to have to just give the advantage to Ivan Bates. And I just hope that whatever it is, call it a feud, a disagreement among gentlemen, I just hope that it doesn't impact, the progress that we're making with respect to crime reduction.
Billy, let me say something.
One of the major reasons that I respect Brandon Scott is not only the tremendous effort he has put in to lower violence in Baltimore City, but the tremendous successes that he's had over and over again, which have resulted in a historic low in the murder rate. And in the shooting rate, because often the real problem is concealed when you don't report shootings as well as murders. And we've got to commend him for that. And so I'm not dismissive of him at all, like you are, Tonya. And of course, that does not diminish my respect for Ivan Bates. I think Ivan Bates has done a tremendous job as state's attorney. He's been professional. He's been low key, and he's prosecuted more crooked cops than Marilyn Mosby. So I think he's done an outstanding job as well.
And Richard, let me just I'm going to say and leave it both, because I personally respect both black men, right? I think admirably of both of them. I think they're both doing their best in a sense. But let's get to the core of what this letter was sent on, right? The mayor's office of mayor's office of neighborhood safety engagement, was created under the Scott administration. I'm not going to say it's a workaround for prosecutors and others, but it was a different tool, let's say. The problem that the state's attorneys and the prosecutors have, and I would love to hear Billy's and Tonya's take on this. The first problem is you have an organization that is offering services to victims and witnesses of crimes, but they are not telling the prosecutors that they're giving them housing, these paying for funerals, things of that sort. So when they're not telling the prosecutors or the courts this, and then later on the defense finds out, now you have the opportunity for either that case to be thrown out or the conviction overturned because of discovery issues. So that was the first issue that needs to be addressed. The second one is you have diversion programs like Sidestep that, mind you, DJS nor the state's attorney knew nothing about until it was blown up in the media earlier this year, that are diverting kids who have committed a crime that don't go to DJS, they don't go to us, but it's the executive branch, then sending them to the program that they control. Nobody knows about whether these kids are completing these programs, but then you're paying them on top of that, while the victim of the crime receives no justice because the case never moves forward, and they're not getting any compensation for their car being stolen or their goods being damaged. So you're paying a child who committed a crime,
right,
and not telling anybody in the court system, and then telling the state's attorney, "Oh, we can't show you these juveniles' information." That is absolutely ridiculous.
Make your comments brief now. We've got to move along.
And of course, Hassan, and of course, you're right to highlight the fact that, first of all, I think if we're going to give credit to the crime reduction, it should go entirely to Ivan Bates. I would, offline, Billy, I'd love to hear specific, discrete things that Brandon Scott has done and metrics that back up that he's responsible for any of it, because I don't believe he is. And I think that that's the point. They don't want to be transparent about the data, because when you attach it to real people and numbers, then we can track the money and really see the extent to which this administration is grafting and grifting. They are giving money to people who are not doing anything. The no call, no show, no call, no show. They don't want us to see the extent of the no call, no show expenditures of public funds.
Mr. Langer, please.
No, listen, I one of these moments where write it down. Tonya and I are in 100% agreement, and I amen to everything she's saying.
All right, we're going to pause. Here again is Howard Mallison, the voice of Square Off, and then we'll move along. Go ahead, Howard.
Thank you, Rich. If you're experiencing any kind of foot pain that requires medical attention, I recommend Dr. Kelly Gagan, a well-respected board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist. No one is immune from foot problems.
True.
Also, if your concern is the appearance of your feet, Dr. Gagan has a long record of success using laser treatments to correct your issue. Plus, they're safe, painless, and go right to the root of the problem. You can believe me because I am a cured patient, and so is Richard, actually. So don't suffer from the agony of defeat. Start winning with a call to Dr. Gagan at 410-753-4422 to set up an appointment. Once again, that's 410-753-4422. And with so many cars on the road and distracted drivers everywhere, auto accidents will happen. And if you've experienced an accident, the insurance companies can't tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more drivers are trusting their auto repairs and maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models and offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So call them at 410-443-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. And back to you, Richard.
All right, thank you. Kelly Gagan, by the way, is really terrific. Get it? Well, Billy gets it. Terrific. And we also want to mention, in fairness and to be wide open, that Hassan, you have some relationship with the state's attorney. Exactly what do you do?
I'm the chief of external affairs.
How are those affairs you're having?
Oh, our affairs are wonderful. You ask the community, we're doing great in the community and across the board in Baltimore City, including reducing homicides and, as Billy said, non-fatal shootings to historic lows never seen in the city of Baltimore.
And by the way, Hassan is doing an excellent job according to everybody I know, and I know a lot of people.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Billy Murphy knows a lot of people. Hey, we want to send a shout out to one of our outstanding sponsors. I mentioned it earlier, attorney Barry Glazer, who was featured in a Baltimore Sun front page article earlier this week. Barry is nationally renowned for his wacky yet very effective television commercials. He gets results in the courtroom, and their firm just settled a multi-million-dollar case. So we want to congratulate Barry Glazer. Random people come up to him, Billy, and ask for his autograph and a selfie. You want a selfie with Barry Glazer, Billy?
I would love a selfie with Barry Glazer. But since you bring it up, Malcolm Ruff just got a $21 million verdict in our firm, and he should be congratulated and recognized.
Congratulations.
He's an excellent young lawyer, and I'm proud to have him on board.
I bet
Does he want to run for mayor?
Say what?
I said, does he want to run for mayor?
If I knew the answer, I still wouldn't say it.
I'm just playing.
But he's running for Senate right now. You got to take care of one thing.
That's correct.
All right. Well, we also want to salute 71-year-old Adrienne Jones. Adrienne is stepping away from her role as Speaker of the Maryland House of Delegates. She will continue as a delegate representing District 10. In a statement, Delegate Jones says, "Seasons are full of change. I find myself focusing on tomorrow and what lies ahead." We wish her well. Thank her for her service. Billy, you know her well.
Yeah, she was excellent. And I was part of the support that she had while she was there and the support that she had in becoming a Speaker of the House. We were there with her when all of the votes were counted the first time she won that election. And I think she's done a superb job.
Anyone else want to comment?
Look, Speaker John, look, it's great to see someone with the amount of humbleness, I would say, of Speaker Jones, and not have to roll people out of the office because they didn't die and they didn't stay too long. She realized she gave herself to the constituents of the 10th district as well as to the state of Maryland as Speaker. She's done enough what she thought was an admirable job. She's now going to pass on that torch, and it's an honor to know the delegate. I was always in support of her becoming the Speaker, even during the very contentious election that they ended up getting it right and making her Speaker. So it's going to be interesting to see who takes her place because they have very big shoes to fill. But wish her nothing but the best moving forward.
Tonya,
Yeah, I couldn't say it better than Hassan just did.
Andrew, do you know her?
No, I mean, listen, I've obviously watched her career over the years, and I think Hassan hits the nail on the head with regards to the fact that she is voluntarily stepping away. You know, we should always leave when your numbers are high. That's the leave the party when the party is good, not after it winds down. But the fundamental question is, as we move into this next session, who's going to take her place, and what does that mean? What does that mean for the 2026 election cycle? All of those things are out there.
Maryland's Democratic Caucus will designate a nomination for Speaker on December 16th, so it won't be too long.
Oh.
Billy, I was wondering, getting back to the mayor and the state's attorney, if they're getting along, why did you have to step in and mediate whatever it was they were not getting along about?
So that they would continue to get along, Richard.
Well, can you elaborate?
No, because that mediation was confidential, and I respect that. That
Actually-
makes it easier for people to get along and to really speak their minds in a candid forum where nobody's going to get offended, and we can get to the truth of the matter.
There is something to be said for behind the scenes negotiations, and they are critically important. Far too frequently things get way out of hand because they get breathlessly reported in the press, and nobody has the opportunity to have a private conversation with somebody and work out their differences. A lot of these things can be done now. Nowadays, everybody's got access to TikTok and Twitter and Facebook stories or whatever. The hot take rules the day. We should have more private conversations and be encouraging that kind of mediation. So, Billy, kudos to you for that.
All right, we've got to take a goodbye. I want to thank you very much, Hassan and Tonya Bana, Billy Murphy, and of course, our dear friend, Andrew Langer. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our audience continues to build here at squareoff.net, or on Facebook at Square Off Show. And thank you all for your support. Happy holidays, and we will see you next time when once again we square off. Goodbye, everybody. So long.